Yeah, so that's a great question. I would say, in terms of the dangers to keep an eye out or red flags in recovery and in addiction, definitely the one we talked about was isolation, being alone. People's worlds tend to get a lot smaller, if not actually physically, then just in terms of who they're associating with, and they might think they have a lot of friends, but if they really had a look, like a lot of those people might have a not so healthy relationship with substances as well, or an addictive personality type, whatever it might be. So people's worlds get smaller, and isolation is a byproduct of addiction. It's we view it as sort of a being that's trying to cut you off from the rest of society, that's trying to get you alone. And so there's a saying in recovery where stay close to the herd. It's like in nature, a school of fish, safety in numbers. When a predator comes along and tries to pick off some fish, they'll get the ones that are straying away from the school or from the herd, and because they're isolated and don't have the power of the group. So isolation is definitely a big one to watch out for. The other thing to keep an eye on is not only when things are going badly, but when things are going well. When life all of a sudden gets a lot better because you've stopped using your drug of choice or alcohol or whatever it might be. Because that's another pitfall that we see. People, they leave the program, they leave the safety of the group, they leave the things that they've been taught, they leave them behind because life's good again. You know, they don't feel like they have that much of a problem anymore, or they're celebrating something big, they get that promotion, and then all of a sudden they're drinking with friends on a night out to celebrate, and they're back at square one, and things, you know, one drink leads to two, leads to 20, leads to a few months down the line, or a few weeks even, they might be right back in rehab again, or trying to do something about it all over again. So one thing to keep an eye out for is when things are going well. Another thing that we see a lot of the time in the recovery circles is what people call doing a geographic. So if people start to think that it's not themselves but their surroundings and the people they're around and their situation in where they are in the world physically, sometimes they'll get up and go somewhere else in order to clear away the wreckage of the past. But having not properly processed it, just doing a geographic, they'll find that they're still themselves. It's like people say, I tried to get away from myself, but everywhere I went, there I still was, you know. And so making sure that if you are going to move, if you are going to do something new, that it's not because you're trying to run away from problems rather than face them, or rather than holding a mirror up and fixing what you're seeing reflecting back at you. The other one is relationships can be a slippery slope in early recovery. Kind of a rule of thumb that we hear in the recovery circles is don't make any major life changes in the first year of sobriety and recovery. Get a really good foundation that is internal, not based on anything external, someone else's love. Because if your inside emotions are based on someone else, then they will always have that control over you. You won't have actual, control over your own emotions and your own situation if all things external still affect you. So there's something to be said for loving yourself first, learning how to love yourself again, and then taking time before getting into any new relationship, before starting any kind of new job. Sometimes people have to because they got fired from their previous job and ended up in rehab, so they got to get straight back to work. But try and do something no need to go out there and reinvent the wheel, learn a new skill and switch life path completely. Try and make as few other changes as you can, because you're already making one very big significant change, and too much of that can be too much to handle. So one change at a time, one day at a time, and try and get some time under your belt before getting into a new relationship with anybody, romantic or, it's good to get sober friends and stuff. That's totally fine. But the other one that goes along with that is, if you're in a relationship already, don't make any fast moves as well. is to see if you can fix your side of the street in that relationship, if that's a point of contention, then try and work on that. No need to dump any relationship that you're in and start fresh slate. As few other changes as you can is the control group, we can call it, and then from there we build the foundation of recovery. And if people make choices in 6 months to a year to move on with their lives and try something else, then all great. But we try to minimize any extreme changes all of a sudden, because people can feel like they need to change their entire life all at once, whereas what we really want is an internal shift to take place, and a shift that's spiritual in nature. They want to do life on life's terms. They don't need to drink hard liquor to get by, or to smoke marijuana, or whatever it is. They want to get out there and enjoy life again. And then from that foundation, the world really opens up for people.